Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really zooming in on a very specific time frame, 1945 right through to 1950. This is ground zero, the Genesis moment. We're looking at what happened right after World War II, that chaos, to figure out not just why Europe needed to unite, but how they wrestled with the how. It was a real battle of ideas.
Absolutely. It's that critical 5-year window. For you listening, the aim here is clarity. We're pulling apart that original blueprint, the big philosophical fights at the Hague Congress, and then, well, the clever politics behind the Schuman Declaration.
Right, where ideas like federalism, confederalism, functionalism, they stopped being just theories.
Yeah, they became real choices. Choices about how the continent could even survive.
Exactly. We are looking at the absolute crucible. Every single decision made then in that short period, it really shaped the structure we still see evolving today.
And we need to understand why some paths were just, well, politically impossible back then. Why functionalism emerged as maybe the only realistic option at that specific moment.
It's quite something, isn't it? How fast they went from, dealing with the devastation to trying to build something totally new, something permanent, an institution that could somehow contain future nationalism.
That's the core of it, binding structures.
Okay, let's unpack this then, starting with a continent basically in ashes.
Sure.
So WWII ends. And the urgency, it wasn't just about clearing rubble, was it? It was about fundamental shift.
Definitely. The old way, nation-states competing, constantly leading to war, that model was completely broken, discredited.
The absolute #1 goal, find a way to stop the next war. Permanently.
And the first instinct, well, it was kind of traditional. Look at the organizations popping up right away. NATO, the OSCE, the beginnings of the Council of Europe.
Okay, important bodies, sure.
Crucial, yes. But they were all based on what we call intergovernmental cooperation.
Right. Can you break that down again? Because knowing what didn't quite work is key here.
Sure. Intergovernmental cooperation is basically states agreeing to cooperate, to talk. But, and this is the crucial bit, the states keep all the real power. They remain fully sovereign.
So they work together on maybe defense, like NATO or human rights with the Council of Europe?
Exactly. Specific things. But each state holds on to its ultimate authority. And critically, any single state can use its veto.
Ah, the veto. So if, say, France disagreed with a plan, it could just block it.
Completely. The whole thing stops. It's cooperation, but only when everyone agrees. Which sounds fine, but...
But it doesn't really prevent future conflict if any nation can just pull out or block things when it suits them. It feels temporary, not binding.
Precisely. If the aim is making war impossible, intergovernmentalism doesn't get you there. It might postpone things, but the underlying tensions remain if national interest always comes first.
And this weakness, it was really highlighted by the Cold War kicking off, right? Suddenly, Europe needed more than just internal peace.
Yeah, the world was splitting fast. East versus West. Europe needed strength, unity, fast decisions, traditional cooperation. Just too slow, too fragile, too easily blocked by national interests.
Okay, so the pressure is immense. The old way isn't enough. But what's the alternative? That's where the big debate starts.
And that debate really burst into the open at the Hague Congress in May 1948, sometimes called the Congress for Europe.
This wasn't like a formal treaty negotiation, was it?
No, not at all. It was more like a massive brainstorm. Hundreds of influential people, politicians, thinkers, writers, all gathered to thrash out Europe's future. It was the first big public airing of these different ideas for unity.
Like a big, messy ideas festival for a broken continent, and 3 main projects or visions emerged.
That's a good way to put it. 3 distinct philosophies clashed. First, you had the Confederalists, think figures like Churchill, de Gaulle, the Traditionalists.
Okay, what was their take?
They saw the need for more unity, definitely. But they insisted, absolutely insisted, that the nation-states must keep their full sovereignty, their power.
So basically, a stronger version of that intergovernmental model. A club, maybe better organized, but still relying on every member saying yes. Still that national veto.
Exactly that. Their goal was cooperation. Improved cooperation, but not deep integration. Then, at the completely opposite end.
The radicals.
The Federalists, people like Spinelli, Einaudi, passionate advocates for something much bigger.
And their vision was?
The United States of Europe.
Oh.
Now, they wanted the immediate end of the nation-state system as the primary power.
Wow. So abolish France, Germany, Italy as independent sovereign states?
Essentially, yes. Turn them into regional entities like states within the USA. Create one single federal European state with ultimate power.
You can see the appeal that would make war between them impossible, but politically feasible. right after that war.
Almost zero chance. Think about it. Countries are devastated. Nationalism partly fueled the war. Governments are fragile. Asking them to just vote themselves out of existence. Hand over all power to some new, untested European government.
Yeah, I can see that being a tough sell. Astronomical political costs, as you said.
Impossible, really. So you had the Confederalists, too weak, maybe, too reliant on that veto, and the Federalists, too radical, politically just not viable at that moment.
Which leaves the middle ground.
Exactly. The third way, functionalism. This is where figures like Robert Schuman come in, the pragmatists.
Okay, so what did the functionalists propose? How did they thread that needle?
They argued integration had to be progressive, done step by step, not all at once. And crucially, this gradual process should be guided by new kinds of institutions, supranational institutions.
Supranational, meaning above the nations.
Yes, institutions with some real power of their own in specific areas, not dependent on constant national agreement. Instead of tackling politics head-on, they said, let's start with practical things, economics.
Like weaving countries together through shared interests first.
Precisely. Build solidarity through doing things together. De facto solidarity. It cleverly sidestepped the immediate sovereignty problem of the Federalists, but aimed for something much stronger and more permanent than the Confederalist approach.
Okay, so the Hague Congress kind of clarified the options, showed the extremes probably wouldn't fly. It set the stage for needing a concrete plan based on that functionalist idea.
Exactly. It framed the debate, and now someone needed to provide the actual first step.
And that step came 2 years later, May 9th, 1950. Robert Schuman, who was the French foreign minister then, gives this famous declaration. This is where functionalism moves from theory to action plan.
Absolutely. It's the turning point. And his plan had two clear aims. Short term, stop France and Germany fighting ever again. Reconciliation was key.
And long term,
Lay the very first stones for what he called an ever closer union of the European states and their citizens, a foundation for something much bigger down the road.
and the method was pure functionalism, right? He didn't propose, I don't know, a European army or a political federation right away.
No, nothing like that. He proposed something very specific, very concrete. Pooling French and German coal and steel production under a common, shared authority.
Coal and steel, why those specific things? Seems a bit industrial.
But think about it. What do you need to wage industrialized war? Coal and steel. They are the raw materials of conflict.
Right. Tanks, guns, ships.
Exactly. By putting these essential war resources under a shared supranational management, especially between historic enemies like France and Germany, Schuman aimed to make war, in his words, not merely unthinkable, but materially impossible.
Okay, that makes sense. You literally take away the means to fight each other independently. That's the de facto solidarity you mentioned. Unity through practical necessity.
Precisely. And the Declaration itself spells this out. There's a key line, maybe worth remembering. Europe will not be made all at once, or according to a single plan. It will be built through concrete achievements which first create a de facto solidarity.
Step by step. Concrete achievements first. Okay, let's try repeating that. The Schuman Declaration was a functionalist plan to create de facto solidarity through concrete steps.
Perfect. That captures the essence. And notice the contrast with the confederal idea. A confederal approach might have set up a committee where France or Germany could just veto decisions about coal or steel.
But Schuman insisted on something different. These supranational institutions.
Yes, that's the key mechanism. Supranational means creating an authority above the national governments, but only for those specific, agreed areas, coal and steel to start. This authority could make decisions in the common European interest, decisions that were binding.
So it gets around the national veto problem, at least for those specific sectors.
Exactly. It was politically brilliant. By focusing on economics, he calmed the immediate fears about losing sovereignty that doomed the Federalist idea. But by creating supranational bodies, he built something potentially much stronger and more permanent than the weak intergovernmentalism the Confederalists wanted.
He built institutions designed to last. Structures that wouldn't just collapse if governments changed in Paris or Bonn.
Yes, he recognized that lasting peace needed more than just goodwill. It needed institutions. As the Declaration also noted, nothing is possible without men's will, but nothing can last without institutions. That structure was vital.
So the Schuman Declaration wasn't just a nice speech, it was the practical launchpad, applying functionalism to a specific problem, coal and steel, using this new tool of supranational bodies to make it stick.
That's it. The first concrete step on a very long road. #outro.
Right, so let's recap our journey through this crucial 5-year genesis. We started with the desperate needing for peace after 1945. Then we saw the big clash of visions at the Hague Congress, the cautious Confederalists wanting cooperation with vetoes, the radical Federalists wanting immediate union, which was politically impossible,
And the pragmatic functionalists proposing a step-by-step approach.
which led directly to the Schuman Declaration in 1950. The Functionalist plan in action. Start with concrete economic steps like coal and steel, and build supranational institutions to manage them and ensure they last.
And that method, that functionalist step-by-step approach, focusing on concrete achievements and building these powerful supranational bodies, that's what got European integration off the ground. It was the politically achievable compromise.
So what's the big takeaway here? For me, it's that this huge European project, its foundations weren't laid down in some grand revolutionary moment of political union.
No, quite the
It
opposite.
started with a very calculated, almost quiet, pragmatic strategy. Focus on shared economics, build solid institutions piece by piece. Patience was key.
Building peace through shared practical interests, that de facto solidarity we talked about. And maybe here's something for you to think about.
Go on.
Imagine if one of the other visions had won at The Hague in '48. What if the Federalists, demanding total sovereignty surrender right then, had somehow prevailed? Or the Confederalists, sticking with weak cooperation and national vetoes? Would integration have even started? Or would the demands have been too great or the structure too weak, causing it to collapse under the pressure of national interests and the escalating Cold War? It makes you appreciate the careful balancing act Schuman achieved.
A different path could have led to a very different Europe, or perhaps no integrated Europe at all. Definitely something to mull over.